Hey everybody, it's Chainsaw Gears 12, and today I'm reviewing the double album from the band Soilwork entitled The Living Infinite. One quick thing I do want to mention before I go off into this review is that out of respect for the band members that played on this album, I'm not going to try to pronounce their names when I talk about them in the review. When I get to the sound of the band, I'm going to be talking about what they did on the album and all that good stuff. I'm not going to try to pronounce their names. If I try, I will butcher them, and that's disrespectful, so I'm not going to try to. So, we all know that. That's what's going to happen, so no names. So, if you want to know the names, it's in the description. Let's continue with the review. So, the first thing that really went through my mind when I listened to the first album and the second album and completed it is that this is a lot of stuff to take in. 20 songs, 84 minutes, that's a lot of material. And what really also went through my mind at the same time is that a lot of things could have went wrong. Songs could not flow together. The songs maybe just didn't live up to the hype of the songs you heard before. A lot of things just could have screwed up. But in my personal opinion, everything went right. Everything worked well. This two albums really just worked perfectly. The songs flowed together on each album, if you just listen to them, by themselves. And when you put them together, the albums flow together. The first album flows with the second album perfectly. And it just really shows that a lot of work went into making these two albums really stand out. And I guess it depends on how you take each album, because I took the first album in a different way than I took the second album, because it just felt like there was more stuff on the first album that made the first album stand out, and then there was different stuff on the second album that made the second album stand out. And what I really enjoyed is that the complex stuff that went on each song, because there's so much stuff going on in each individual track that it makes basically every song stand out from the ones you've heard before or the ones you're going to hear. Just feels like that they took a lot of time in creating these amazing songs and beautiful songs and epic songs and heavy songs and whatever words you want to use before the word songs. A lot of time went into making these beautiful tracks, really. A lot of time had to have went in musicianship, the guitar work, the bass, the drums, the vocals. A lot of work had to go into making these 20 tracks stand out. What I really enjoyed also is the fact that there's a lot of complex stuff throughout both albums, and it shows the power behind the band. It shows the technical side of the band. It shows how crazy they can get and how crazy they can write. And then on the other side, we also see the simplistic side. We see the slowed down side of Soilwork. We get to see this more simple side of the band. And what I like is that both of these worlds collide and work together to create an amazing melodic death metal sound. Now, if you know melodic death metal, you know what you're going to get. You're going to get the typical death growls, a lot of double bass, blast beats maybe. I mean, yes, it's on this album. A lot of crunchy, fast, heavy guitar riffs. It's on this album. A lot of crazy solo work, melodic solo work. It's on this album as well. Overall, you just know what you're going to get. But what Soilwork did for these two albums is that they really pushed a limit on some songs. They really did more here. They put a lot more melodic effort here. They really made each song feel like it's more than just melodic death metal. It made it feel like it's just more than that. I don't know how to explain it. It just feels like some songs just really pushed the limit and really pushed it forward. I do want to talk about these four songs. These two songs, which is the opener of the first album, which is Spectrum of Eternity, has this really eerie sound of an orchestra thing that really opens up the first album, and it was just really eerie to listen to. And then it blasts off into this heavy, fast, aggressive track that really sets you up for the first album. And I just loved how that opened the album and really set you up for what you're going to get yourself into for the first album at least. And then what was really interesting is that Whispers and Lights, which ends the first album, didn't really feel like an ending, because as we all know, there's a second album that's going to be coming along, but it just didn't feel like an ending. It just felt like it's still going to continue. So that was really interesting that they really didn't write an ending track for the first album. They saved it up for the second one. And the opener for the second album, which is Entering Aeons or Eons, not exactly sure, but it's one of those, hopefully, was different than the first album, because the first album, it had vocals and all that stuff, a typical melodic death metal, heavy, fast track. But entering Aeons, opening the second album, was a shorter track, and it was an instrumental. Had some technical stuff, but mostly it was simplistic stuff, and kind of set you up for a kind of different tone for the second album. And that was really interesting that they changed that up for the second album. They changed up some aspects there. And the fact that I love the name of this track, Owls Predict, Oracles Stand Guard, which ends the second album. Now this is the song that ends both albums. It feels like it ends both albums, and that's kind of crazy for one song to basically end 19 other tracks. But the album was just beautiful. It like stood on a pedestal, and you could just tell by the opening chord, the opening sound, the opening first few seconds of this song, you can just tell, ooh, this is the ender. This is the heavy ending right here. And it was beautiful. All that good stuff. So, before I actually get off into the sound of the band, is that overall, as I didn't talk about all the songs, is that if you love melodic death metal, and if you love melodic metal, and you love heavy aggressive stuff, and you've not heard this album yet, please, I beg you, go check out these double album, because it's impressive material. It really blew me away. Let's go off into the sound of the band. As we all know, I'm not going to mention names. The vocals, I love the vocals. The death growls are aggressive, heavy, and in your face. And on the other side, the flip of the coin, is that the actual singing is superb. It's just utterly amazing. I catch myself singing along when there's actually singing parts, which there's a lot on both these albums, and just the vocal work, just impressive stuff. Lyrically, it's beautiful as well. There's a lot of variation. I just love the lyrical content, and the vocals, amazing, top notch. He just sounds really good. Let's go over to the guitars, which I'm a guitar lover. I love guitars. The guitar sound is heavy, and it's aggressive, and it's what you'd expect from melodic death metal. And just rhythm wise, the riffs, there's a lot of variation going on. It's really hard to explain, but there's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of riffs on this album, and it's tight, it's technical, it's simple, it's heavy, it's crunchy, it's whatever it's got to be for that certain part of the song. It's there, it's exactly what you'd expect, and it is heavy, and that's what you want. And then to the lead side, the lead sound just sounds beautiful when it needs to be, and it's shreddy when it needs to be, and overall, it's just amazing. It's just really hard to explain. There's just a lot of stuff guitar-wise on this album that made me keep going back, kept me repeating songs, because the guitar work just kept getting more and more impressive as I listened to both these albums. 20 tracks, 84 minutes of guitar work, it's a lot. The bass sounds amazing. The bass is turned up, and I enjoy that. I always enjoy that when metal bands turn up the bass player. You can hear him, and I could hear the bass. I loved it. I had the heavy headphones on. There's really good stuff there, so no problems with the bass. Loved it. There was actually some keyboards on this album. Now, there wasn't as much as I started noticing it more and more as I kept listening to both albums again over and over. I started noticing the more keyboard, and the keyboard stuff's really cool. It really stood out. It was kind of different. I'm not really a big fan of the keyboards, but I actually enjoyed how Soilwork incorporated the keyboard work on these double albums. It really made some of the songs stand out more and have something else going on besides the typical vocals, guitars, bass, and drums. So it was kind of neat and nice to hear some keyboards thrown into the mix. Drums. This is what I also loved on top of the guitars and the vocals and all that. The drums was a big thing for me, is because the drum sound is so massive, and it has to drive what the guitars and the vocals and the bass and the keyboard are doing. The drums have to drive, and they have to push, they have to punch and keep it moving. And the drumming work on this album is flawless. It's so impressive. A lot of blast beating. When the blast beats happen, it's not too loud to where it's overpowering everything, which I really enjoyed that. And overall, the double bassing was amazing. Double bass, however you want to pronounce that. And just overall, just the drumming on this album is just epic. I was just blown away by that. And overall, just big props to the band members for basically writing 20 epic tracks. 84 minutes of material, that's a lot. And overall, this album is just amazing. And yes, if you can guess by how excited I am about this album, I'm giving it, yes, a 10 out of 10. This album, I think, this album, double album, if I've said album, you know what I mean, double album, but, man, these two albums just really showcase what melodic death metal is and what it needs to be pushed to this level of what Soilwork brought to the table with the Living Infinite. So, 10 out of 10. If you've not heard the album yet, what are you doing? Go check it out right now. Go find it, listen to it, all that good stuff. You're not going to be disappointed if you love melodic death metal. So that's really my review, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did like the video, and if you like me and you want to see more, click my name or subscribe to see more. Thank you guys for watching. See ya.